Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum. It is exactly 9:37 a.m. South African time. We're crossing over now to Osama Nazzal. He's a journalist based in Palestine, in Jenin to be precise. And we are going to be talking about the further suffering of displaced journalists as the severe winter weather takes hold. Assalamu alaikum to you, Brother Osama. Welcome to the program.
Wa alaikum salam. Thank you very much. Thank you.
So, what is the situation currently? We understand the winter weather has set in, and the hardship is absolutely untenable on the Palestinian people. Lots are living in makeshift tents, there's rainy weather, and of course, the most basic of necessities are not available to them.
Yes, the Palestinian winter is different this year because of the Israeli continued war and the Israeli siege. Really, on Gaza, as we are talking about the close to 2 million people without homes in Gaza, and they are living in tents, and their tents are worn and torn because of the weather change. And the first storm that hit Palestine 2 days ago showed how vulnerable and how fragile the situation is, as most of the tents were flooded and people were just drowning in the water. Women were crying, children, babies were crying, knowing what nothing and how to do, how to protect themselves against the storm, in light of the fact that Israel did not allow access of enough humanitarian aid into that besieged enclave of Palestine. And at the same time, the humanitarian organizations try to enter tents in order to protect the people against the cold and the torrential rain, but Israel rejected that. And all the humanitarian aid that is getting into Gaza is just like it trickling, not enough. So yes, the people were suffering, and their suffering is increasing on daily basis as the weather conditions are getting really worse every day.
And on top of that hardship as well, we are also hearing about settler attacks on innocent men, women, and children. And as regard those attacks, Netanyahu, pardon, goes on to say that the settlers have every right to protect themselves. But we do know, and we have heard from very reliable sources, that those attacks are totally unprovoked on defenseless Palestinian people.
Yeah, the Israeli settlers attacked are organized and supported by the Israeli occupation government, by the military institution, without any doubt, because these organized armed militias formed by the Israeli settlers attacked the Palestinian villages and the Palestinian farmers with full backing from the Israeli occupation army. And if any Palestinian family tried to defend itself against these attacks, the Israeli occupation army would interfere and detain and punish the Palestinian family. And the Israeli judicial system is complicit in that, as if any settler is, for example, if a Palestinian family tries to prevent an Israeli settler from attacking them, the judicial system would accuse this family of orchestrating an attack against an Israeli citizen, and they might spend years in the Israeli prisons. So we are talking about organized and state terrorism against the Palestinian people. But this kind of terrorism is led by the Israeli settlers today, not by the Israeli occupation army. The Israeli settlers are in the lead. And the aim is very clear that the Israeli occupation government is working now to displace the Palestinian citizens who live in Area C, according to Oslo Accord, which is about 63% of the West Bank. We are talking about the agricultural area, the area where we have the water resources, the natural resources. So this area, according to Israel, is under full Israeli control, and now they are working on expelling the Palestinian citizens from it, not through the military institution, but through the settlers who are funded, armed, and supported by the Israeli military institution.
Sadly, too, we've heard about a 15-year-old ninth grader in a Farai refugee camp who was shot dead by Israeli forces. And this, of course, is in the occupied West Bank. So it seems that the concentration of violations is not only in Gaza, it's all around in Palestine, wherever, whenever, and however the genocidal occupiers can have an opportunity to kill Palestinian people, innocent Palestinian men, women, and children. They seize the opportunity. Once again, we see this atrocity, and a 15-year-old has been killed.
Yeah, children are the main target of the Israeli occupation army and the Israeli occupation aggression. If we look at the death toll in Gaza, we find that the majority, over than 17,000 Palestinian children, were targeted and killed by the Israeli occupation army. And the same thing applies to the children who are living in the other part of the occupied Palestinian territory in the West Bank. Yesterday, Israel killed two Palestinian citizens of Al-Farah refugee camp in the north of the West Bank. One was in the morning and the 15-year-old child in the evening. And all that is part of the Israeli all-out war against the Palestinian people. The Israeli occupation army is storming the Palestinian cities and the Palestinian towns in the West Bank on daily basis, day and night, harassing the Palestinians, restricting the livelihoods of the Palestinians, and wreaking havoc in these Palestinian communities, as if there is coordination and cooperation between the Israeli occupation army and the Israeli settlers. The occupation army storms into the major Palestinian cities and Palestinian towns, and the Israeli settlers attack the Palestinian rural areas and the Palestinian Bedouin and farming communities. But the target is the same target. The goal is the same goal, which is restrict the livelihoods of the Palestinians, kill the Palestinians, force the Palestinians to leave Palestine, and that is the master plan of the Israeli Zionist regime, to empty Palestine of its indigenous citizens. They attack the Palestinians every day, and at the same time, they paralyze the Palestinian economy. And on the 28th of this month, Israel might take the final decision of severing the ties between the Israeli banks and the Palestinian banks. And by this step, the Palestinian banking sector might collapse, and the Palestinian economy, which is already fragile, might deteriorate completely, as there will be no financial transactions between the Palestinians and the international banking system, because the mediator between the Palestinian banks and the international banks is the Israeli banks, as Israel has control over all the features of the Palestinians' life. And so we are talking about an all-out war. Killing, economic war, political war, and they don't want to see any Palestinian living in Palestine. That is the message that the Israeli occupation has today.
To wrap up then, we also understand that Israel is pushing to formally annex the Palestinian territory in violation of international law. Have you heard anything about that? Or is this something that's been at play for a long, long time, and finally it's going to happen?
Israel has de facto annexed the Palestinian territory. If we look at Gaza today, Israeli occupation forces control 53% of Gaza. And I don't think that Israel is going to withdraw from that area, which, according to the plan that Donald Trump offered months ago, is the yellow line, the area behind the yellow line. This area is under full Israeli occupation control and Israeli collaborators' control. In the West Bank, the Israeli occupation is weakening the Palestinian Authority, and its presence in the occupied West Bank is very weak today. As I mentioned, that the Israeli occupation army is storming the Palestinian towns and cities every night. The Israeli settlers are attacking villages and the Palestinian Bedouin communities. So Israel is annexing the occupied Palestinian territory, but without a formal statement. All that lacks in this regard is a formal statement by the Israeli occupation government, and we see how the whole world is silent on these Israeli aggressions and Israeli colonial steps. And I think that based on the structure of the current Israeli occupation government, that is full of rightists and extremists and those religious parties that believe that Palestine never existed and this is the land of Israel according to their Torah convictions. So yes, I think Israel is implementing its colonial policy and it won't stop that as long as the world is seeing the Palestinian-Israeli issue from the Israeli perspective.
And that's where we leave it. Thank you for your time. Till the next time. Assalamu alaikum to you.
Wa alaikum salam. Thank you.